You are welcome on board Literature Hub 247, a platform where literature is discussed 24/7. It is also a platform where the arts and science of literature are discussed. If you are new on this channel, I want you to click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you have access to all the videos whenever they are released. This particular video is about a non-African play titled An Inspector Calls, written by J.B Priestley. We've earlier discussed the plot summary, Act 1 and Act 2 of this play on this channel. If you have not watched the video, you can request for the link to those videos through the message box, and I will send the link to you. We are also going to discuss the themes, the characters, and the dramatic techniques of this text on this channel. Let's go ahead. An Inspector Calls by J.B Priestley, Act 3. Now, at the end of Act 2, Eric is being interrogated by Inspector Gould. Now, let's now continue with the interrogation. It's his turn to be interrogated. Now, we have the full detail on how Eric is interrogated by Inspector Gould in Act 3 and other scenes there. In response to questions thrown at him, Eric narrates his relationship with Eva Smith. He says he met her one night last November in the Palace Bar. He had been there with about 3 chaps for an hour, and he was a bit drunk when he saw her. He started talking to her and ordered drinks for her. He says he was too drunk by the time they were leaving the place, and the girl was a bit drunk also. Eric also says that Smith was not the type that goes there. She went there because she didn't know what to do. He also confesses that she followed her to her lodging that night and had an affair with her. Mrs. Billing shouts when she hears this, and Mr. Billing tells Sheila to take her to the drawing room. Eric said they met again at the same venue where they drank, had discussions, followed her home, and made love again. He says Eva Smith was very pretty, and not that he loved her. No, that is the same comment passed by Gerard. The next time they met, Eva Smith told him she was pregnant, but she wasn't planning to marry him, and she was treating him as a kid. That is, Eva Smith was treating Eric as a kid. He says since he doesn't have any job that will give her money, he gave her £50 he stole from his father's office. That is Eric. He gave Eva Smith £50. The money he stole from his father's office. The officer wanted to confirm whether he stole the money, but he couldn't respond well because Sheila and her mother were back in the room. Mrs. Billing says she's not comfortable in the drawing room because she wants to know what's going on. Mr. Billing then briefs her on the confessions of Eric so far. While replying to a question from his father, Eric explains how he stole the money without anybody knowing. He explained that he issued the first receipt to some account and collected cash in return. He also says that his father is not approachable when in such a situation. He will have come to him then. That is when his father asked him why he has not been telling anybody all this. He said the father is not approachable. Eric replies to the inspector's question that Eva Smith refused to collect more money from him when she discovered that the money was being stolen. It surprises Eric when Sheila says that Eva Smith told their mother that. Inspector Gould then explains to Eric how she went to their mother's organization for assistance, which was denied through the influence of Mrs. Billing. Eric is furious that he threatens their mother. It takes the intervention of Sheila and Mr. Billing to stop him. Inspector Gould finally takes charge and quietens everybody. He then tells them that the girl killed herself, but every one of them contributed to it. he reminds each of them of their roles in the life of Eva Smith. He faces Mr. Billing and says he started it by not paying her 25 shillings a week, but he will pay heavier in return now. Inspector Gould finally educates them on the life of Eva Smith. He says that she's gone. They cannot do her any harm or good now. Neither can they apologize to her. He tells them to know that there are still millions of Eva Smith and John Smith in our midst who need our help. He says we should be our brother's keeper, as we are not alone. He concludes that everybody is responsible for each other, and if we refuse to understand that easily, we shall be taught in a very hard way. The officer then walks out of the house. This is against what Mr. Priestley was earlier preaching to Gerard and Eric. He was advising them that their own responsibility should be within their family. This is in contrast to what Inspector Gould is now preaching now. It is only Mr. Billy who has the courage to move towards the door when the inspector leaves. He pours himself a drink and gulps down his throat. Mr. Billy blames Eric for what happened and entertains fears about it becoming a night because there might be a public scandal. Mr. Billy also says he's ashamed of Eric, and Eric in turn says he's ashamed of her mother. Mr. Billy says that it will be at the receiving end of all their mistakes. Sheila comments that her father has not learned any lesson, but Mr. Billy says he has learned a lot. Eric then interrupts and reminds his father what he was telling him and Gerard after dinner. He told them that they should look their own way and mind their business. He confirms that Mr. Billing will have learned lessons from what Inspector Gould told them before he left. Mrs. Billing asks for Sheila's view on the matter. She says it's odd and asks whether Inspector Gould is really a police inspector. Mr. Billing responds that if it's not a police inspector, it makes a big difference. Sheila disagrees with his father that so far all the discoveries are true and the status of the investigator doesn't matter. She also feels there's something fishy about the inspector. Mr. and Mrs. Billing also share the idea of Sheila that the inspector might not be real, considering how he carried out the investigation. Eric tried to corroborate Sheila's assertion that it doesn't make any difference. Mr. Billing angrily tells him that it makes a difference to his own case. He says that he's the only one that can be prosecuted, while others will only be put to shame in public. Sheila then says that the inspector knows every piece of information, and Mr. Billing responds that he knows little, but only guessing. He then blames them for giving out information just like that. Sheila says he made them confess, and her brother counters that he didn't make him confess. Mr. Billing blames them for allowing him to intimidate them into confessing. Mr. Billing also says he suspects the inspector to be a socialist or an enemy who doesn't like him from the beginning. He says they shouldn't have allowed him to bluff them into talking. Eric responds to their father's statement and says that Mr. Billing didn't stand up to the inspector when he was there. Mr. Billing was saying that he's suspecting that the inspector is a socialist because he is a capitalist. That is, Mr. Billing is a capitalist. That's why he's thinking that the inspector is a socialist. Eric responds to their father's statement and says that Mr. Billing didn't stand up to the inspector when he was there. Mr. Billing then replies that it wouldn't have worked since Eric had admitted stealing money. He then tells them to be quiet as something must be done quickly. A ring is heard at the front door. They look at each other in fear. Sheila says it might be Gerard, and Neda comes in to inform them that it is Gerard. Gerard tells them that he has a special reason for coming back and asks them when the inspector left. Sheila replies that he left a few minutes ago. She informs Gerard that the matter got worse after Gerard left. Gerard asks them how Inspector Gould behaved. Billing says he behaved in a suspicious way. Billing also expresses the rude way he spoke to her and her husband. Gerald then tells them that he came back to inform them that the man wasn't a police officer. He says he confirms he is from a police sergeant, that there is no officer bearing Inspector Gould in the force. Billing says he's going to confirm it also from Colonel Roberts, who is the chief constable. He puts a call across to Colonel Roberts, and the chief constable tells him that there is no Inspector Gould in the police. Billing agrees with Gerald that the man is a fraud. Mr. Billing thinks over it and says that his distractors might be behind it. They may be the one that sent him to come and disrupt their celebration. Mr. Billing says that had it been she was around when Inspector Carey came, she would have asked him some questions before he asked any questions. She says he's the only one who didn't give in to him and suggests that they should decide if there's anything to do about the matter. There are arguments and counter-arguments among them, especially Eric, who tried to prove that everybody is to be blamed and not only him. Gerald also tenders his apologies to Sheila for his relationship with Eva Smith. Sheila responds that the inspector said Gerald came out of it better than every one of them, but they all drove the girl to commit suicide. Gerald says the man is not an inspector. He only came to play a fast one on them. He then asked them how they knew it was the same girl the man showed them, since he showed them the photograph separately at different times. They agree that they don't have any proof that it is the same girl he showed them. Gerald was not shown any photographs. He only told him that the girl changed her name to Dice Renting, and he gave in. And there's no proof that Dice Renting is the same person as Eva Smith. Eric is arguing that his own case might be true, though he wasn't shown any photograph and the girl he knew was dead. Billing and Gerald ask how they will know that the girl is dead or any girl killed herself. Gerald suggests they call the infirmary to get the truth whether there is a dead girl there or not. He puts a call through to the infirmary and is told that no girl died there today, and they haven't had a suicide case for months. The call gives them a lot of relief, especially Billing. He and his wife appreciate Gerald and tell him to have a drink. Billing also takes a drink and raises it up to celebrate everybody. Sheila still insists that all those things really happen and prays that it doesn't end tragically for them. Billing tells her that there's a difference now compared to when the inspector was interrogating them. She says everything remains as it was. That is Sheila. She's insisting that everything remains as it was. Sheila says merely remembering the scenes and all she passed through frightens her. Eric says it frightens him also. Billy then says they should go and sleep. Gerald tells Sheila that since things are back to normal, he was up the ring to return it to Sheila. The latter says it's not yet time. When they feel everything is normal and believe that Inspector Gould is a scam, the telephone rings and Billing picks up the receiver. The police who called informed Billing that the girl had just died on her way to the infirmary after swallowing disinfectant, and a police inspector is on his way to their house for interrogation. Every one of them is dumbfounded. So that's the end of the Act 3 and the end of the play, and Inspector Call, written by J.B Priestley. We are also going to discuss the themes of the play, the characters, as well as the dramatic techniques used in the play. If you have any question on this play or any other literature text or poems that we have discussed, you can send your question through the message box and your question will be attended to. And you can also share any of our videos on any social media platform. Invite your friends to join us on this platform. You can also invite your friend to join us here because we have a lot to be discussed. We have a lot to gain here. Thank you and God bless.